You drinking a LaCroix?
Yeah, they're. So I found out my family always pronounced it LaCroix or whatever, and I always pronounced it LaCroix. And I found out that
you uncultured swine.
It is actually pronounced LaCroix. They tweeted,
no,
LaCroix rhymes with enjoy.
No, it's LaCroix. They are wrong. The makers of
the company is wrong.
Is wrong.
Okay. I always went with Croix because of St. Croix. You know, like St. Croix Island or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, LaCroix. That sounds weird.
Wrong, right?
It feels wrong. LaCroix has always bothered me.
Why?
Because it doesn't. It's not that it doesn't taste like anything. There's not enough taste. It's like someone is whispering the flavor in your ear.
Yeah, I know. So I've seen. I don't remember. This was years ago.
Grapefruit.
But there was something like that. There was a meme about that. Like LaCroix's flavors is like if orange was in a separate room or something like that. It was like, you know. And I think the first time I ever tried a LaCroix, that's how I felt. But ever since I gave up drinking soda, I think they're super flavorful now. And so it's something, I think it's, you know, I don't know if it's the sugar or the sweetness from a soda that like change. I don't know, but I think my taste buds have changed since I gave up drinking soda. And so now I think, because that is how, the first time I had one, I was like, it's weird. It's like a hint of flavor. It's not really a flavor, but now I think they're super flavorful.
It tastes like a smell.
Right. Yeah, I bet if you, I mean, I don't, how much soda do you drink?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
No, one a day. So too much.
Oh, that's not bad. I mean, I was drinking in California, man. I don't know how I'm sure this isn't the way it is anymore because of inflation and stuff.
Yeah.
But it used to be like you go into the grocery store and at the little coolers by the register, they'd have a 20-ounce Coke and it would be $2 or something, or $1.59 or something like that. I don't remember how much it was. But if you went a little bit further into the store, you could get, I want to say it was a 1 liter or maybe even a 1.5 liter. They had these big bottles that were 99 cents. And so I was like,
oh yeah. It was the 1.5 liters. Yep.
Yeah. And so I used to get those and I used to drink like, golly, I was drinking probably 2 of those a day. It was like insane how much soda I was drinking back then.
You didn't get sick? I feel sick after that.
I probably did feel terrible, and I just was probably that was just my normal, my default setting basically. But then I never thought I would ever be a person that couldn't drink soda just because I was so dependent on it basically.
Yeah.
But I eventually gave it up. And now I'm addicted to these sparkling waters. That's all I drink now, are sparkling waters, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm trying to get down to like 1 a week.
Yeah.
I told my wife to not buy me any soda. Like after I finish what I have, don't buy me anymore. And it's still not working because I haven't been able to cook my lunch every day, so
you've been going to get like pick up food and you drink with it.
Going to pick up food and picking up a drink. So
that's the worst part about giving up soda is going to, which I need to cut out fast food anyway, but going to a fast food place and they always say, what do you want to drink? And you say a water. And sometimes they'll give you a cup of water. Like Zaxby's is pretty good.
Yeah.
They'll give you a cup of water. And sometimes I think Zaxby's will even take off the price. Like they'll adjust the price a little bit in your favor.
Yeah.
If you don't get a drink or if you ask for water. Other places, and most other places, will give you a bottle of water and they'll charge you more for it. And that drives me up the wall.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
So you get penalized for trying to be a tiny, I mean,
bit
you're going to a fast
healthy.
food place, but tiny bit healthier by getting water instead of soda. And they are like, well, you're going to pay for it.
That is what bothers me about eating healthy. It's terribly inconvenient.
It is terribly inconvenient.
It really, really bothers me. It's inconvenient, and a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And that really irks me.
It's true. My wife and I talk about it every now and again. You get penalized a lot of the times for trying to be a little bit healthier.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it sucks. I've got a lot of weight to lose, and I'm not looking forward to it because it's going to be hard. But it's also I know how to do it. It's just
Actually
takes
doing
discipline. It just takes discipline. Yeah, and I just lately I just have not. Well, lately in like the last 4 years, basically, have not wanted to be disciplined. I've just wanted to be convenient.
The thing about it for me is convenience. I'm gonna do what's convenient for me. I'm always pressed for time, so
right.
like I'm gonna get the quickest option. That's
right. Exactly.
That's the bottom line.
We always try to kind of meal prep so that we've got like our lunches for the week.
Yeah,
but Sunday night we'll roll around and we're tired. We finally put like Oliver to sleep and we're like, do we really want to go spend like an hour in the kitchen now cooking a bunch of food?
Absolutely not. That's the hard part. Meal prepping. That's the hard part about being healthy. Meal prepping is the hardest part because you have to spend all of that time in the kitchen, standing up on your feet, making food that you're not even going to eat that day.
Right. And then let's say you do it, you feel accomplished, and you've got a fridge full of food.
Yeah.
If you're like me, the next day rolls around and you go, man, I really don't want that.
For me,
I really don't feel like chicken.
For me, it's always Wednesday. Wednesday is the test. Monday, I'm good. Tuesday, I'm okay. Wednesday is like, I don't want to eat this anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't meal prep past 3 days anyway, because like by day 4 it starts tasting funny.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to get that Wednesday in, man.
Yeah, and then if you don't meal prep past 3 or 4 days, then you got to meal prep again halfway through the week. And it's just
it's a pain.
It's and then for me, like I usually can eat the same thing over and over and over again, depending on what it is. My wife can't do it. If she has something for lunch, she can't have that for dinner. So it's hard finding things, it's hard to meal prep for lunch and then also have a different thing for dinner.
Yeah.
And something that we both like. It's just, it's tough.
Yeah, my wife is the same way. I mean, I guess I'm like that too. I can't eat the same meal twice in a row. I can do it in consecutive days, but not consecutive meals. I can't do lunch and dinner the same meal. Like, no. It's like thinking about it is making me sick.
That's funny. I could do it, no problem. Especially fast food. Like if I had Taco Bell for lunch, I have no problem getting Taco Bell for dinner. Same with pizza. I love pizza so much. Like if I had, like Denise has said that before, like I'll have gotten pizza or whatever for lunch, and then for dinner she's like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, you had pizza for lunch. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, you order pizza. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
And today we are talking about Bumblebee. Released in 2018, directed by Travis Knight. Written by Christina Hodson and starring Haley Steinfeld, Jorge Lindeborg Jr., John Ortiz, and John Cena. This was the next Transformers film following Transformers The Last Night, and it was a breath of fresh air, if you ask me. It was kind of a requel, not really. I guess prequel is an actual word, so I can't say that. But it was kind of a reboot prequel because it did feel somewhat connected to the 2007 Transformers film, especially the way he turns into a Camaro at the end. It's the same Camaro, but everything else about it kind of felt rebootish. It the designs of the Transformers were different. Obviously, it took place in the 80s. It wasn't present day, but it felt like they were trying to reinvigorate the franchise, and I think they did a good job with it. I saw this in the theater, and I really enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, same. Saw it in the theater, really enjoyed it. Definitely a breath of fresh air after the horrendous atrocity that was the movie that shall not be named.
Right.
And yeah, so the thing about this movie, when it came out, it was said that it was going to be a prequel. Guys, forgive me, my allergies are really, really bothering me. So I sound horrible right now. So please forgive me.
I'll do my best to edit out the sniffles, but we'll see how it goes. It could be a job.
So yeah, it was announced that it was going to be a prequel, but they also said that if it does well, it will function as the first movie in a reboot, which it pretty much did. So
yeah.
They did it really smart. They did it as, it felt tonally different, even like cinematography wise, it felt so different and looked different. Obviously, they were gearing this towards a younger audience, but still had a lot of the member berries in there for the OG fans like myself.
Right.
But they did it really smart because it didn't contradict anything in the Michael Bay universe, but felt disconnected enough to kind of be its own thing. So kudos to the filmmakers for making that choice to have it be connected to either or. Like you could watch this for the new universe, or you could watch it right before you watch the Bayverse.
Right. The one thing that I would say contradicts the Bayverse is at the end, Optimus is already on Earth, right? He talks to Bumblebee about, I forget what he says exactly, but he and Bumblebee are on Earth, and they say something about the planet. Whereas in the first Transformers movie, Bumblebee's already here, but Optimus doesn't show up until Bumblebee puts out that signal, right?
Halfway through the movie. Yeah.
Right. So that would be the one thing that doesn't quite match up. But everything else, I mean, like you said, they were smart about it, and pretty much everything else does kind of match up while still being its own thing, which I really liked. I thought it was kind of cool. And this movie has the highest, I just looked it up, the highest Rotten Tomato score out of all of them. I didn't look up what the other ones were, but I know none of them have a 90%, which is what this one has.
I'm certain the highest one is in the 50s.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember what Rise of the Beast had, but yeah, the rest of them are, yeah. The rest of them, the first one might have a technically a non-rotten score, but the rest of them I'm pretty sure are all in the Rotten Tomatoes part of Rotten Tomatoes. Have a rotten score, I guess. But yeah, no, for me, I'll say I'm a casual Transformers fan. I liked watching the original series as a kid, and I liked playing with the toys. But I didn't really watch Beast Wars until, you got me into it. And I didn't really watch any of the other incarnations of the animated series. So it was still super cool, though, when this movie starts off and you see Cybertron and the war on Cybertron.
Oh my God, the opening to this movie. Oh, I was watching this and I looked at my wife. I was like, you have no idea how the kid in me feels right now. This is everything that I wanted from a Transformers movie. That opening sequence is fantastic. From just from the design of the Transformers, they don't look like the OG TV show, obviously, but
they're pretty close.
They're pretty close.
Yeah,
they're pretty close. Optimus is super updated, which is fine. I love it though. But what really got me was when Soundwave started talking.
Yes.
Oh my God, and he sounded just like the OG. It made me so happy. I wanted so bad for the whole movie to be like that.
I thought the same thing. When watching it, I was like, I want to see a movie set on the war for Cybertron, basically. It would just be so cool. Yeah, and when Soundwave shows up and he speaks, that blew me away. And then later on, we see another flashback of the war, and Ravager comes out of Soundwave, and I feel that was just amazing too. And you even hear the classic, sound effects right there. Yeah, it was so cool. This is,
yeah,
I think easily the best live action Transformers we've gotten, and that scene is part of it. But also this, it's almost weird to say that that, well, I mean, it's not weird to say that this is the best live action Transformers movie, but there's actually really so few Transformers in this movie. And I think that's maybe partly why the critics liked it so much. It wasn't overly stuffed. Yes, we got that awesome opening scene, but then it's pretty much just Bumblebee and the 2 Decepticons for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
There's that one Decepticon who shows up in the beginning who takes away Bumblebee's speech.
That was Blitzwing. They never say their names though.
Right.
The Decepticons, they never say their names, but that's who that was.
Yeah, if you'd asked me who the names of the other 2 are, I don't know. I know one was voiced by Angela Bassett, but I don't know what the name of the actual Decepticons are. I could look that up.
I'm trying to look it up right now. Shatter and Dropkick. Oh, Justin Theroux.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't recognize his voice.
Nice. I haven't seen him in enough things to know what he sounds like, but
right. Yeah,
that's cool.
And he might even be kind of doing a little bit of a voice, but yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I did recognize RC on Cybertron.
Yeah, there are a lot that I recognize. Ratchet was the one with the red horn plate on his forehead. I recognized Soundwave, obviously.
Right.
Wheeljack, Cliff Jumper. Cliff Jumper was the one that they offed on one of Saturn's moons.
Right. Yep. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, they really nailed the design of the Transformers in this movie. And I think the most important thing is that they nailed the feel of the OG series, which the Bayverse lacked.
Right.
Now, that being said, I am a little bit more than a casual Transformers fan, obviously.
Yeah.
I got Optimus Prime sitting right here next to me.
Nice.
While I do appreciate that this movie honors the original series, I am not one to scoff at the Bayverse for doing its own thing. I kind of look at the Bayverse as its own separate thing.
Yeah, sure.
Rather than an adaptation, because Michael Bay said, I'm going to make an alien invasion movie with Transformers. And I'm perfectly okay with that. I like those movies, at least the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
I go back and forth with Age of Extinction.
Yeah.
And obviously the one that shall not be named is trash.
Not named. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered those movies, and you and I, especially the first and third movie, we like those movies. Those are fun movies to watch. And
I like the second one. I acknowledge that it's not good, but I still enjoy it.
Right.
Very much.
Fair enough. As far as quality of movie, like from an objective standpoint, this one I think
it's easily this one.
Easily the best, yeah. Is
yes.
But I do still very much enjoy the first movie. I loved the first movie when it came out.
As do I.
Yeah. And
I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, the Matrix, Transformers, Dark Knight, those are all comfort movies for me. I can pop those on at any time and watch them all the way through, and even want to watch them again after I've just gotten done watching them.
Right.
Whenever Transformers would come on network TV when I was younger. Well, I wasn't that young. The movie, I was 17 when it came out, but
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But whenever it would come on cable, I would watch it wherever it was. Like if it was in the middle of the movie when the Autobots first showed up, I just stop and watch it. Then like it's just a very comforting movie for me. I still remember the feeling that I got watching that movie for the first time in the theater, and people lost their minds when Optimus started speaking. Before time began, there was like people went nuts. I still get some semblance of that feeling from that first movie. And even with the third movie, I was like, the third movie gave me everything that I wanted. I wanted a bunch of Transformers transforming.
Right.
Like it gave me one of my favorite Transformers in Shockwave, and he was awesome.
Right.
I wanted more of him.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too about, I mean, this movie, we just said is objectively the best one, but like this movie, and there's something to be said for it. This movie is on a much smaller scale.
Yeah,
and,
it's very self-contained.
Right. And which I like, but there are also times where I want to see Transformers destroy an entire city, you know, and I pop in Dark of the Moon.
Yeah. Like a few people, well, a lot of people have said that, you know, Dark of the Moon is too much, but I'm like, you have to understand the context. At the time, this was thought to be the last Transformers movie.
Right.
So that's why there is an orgy of destruction in that movie. And I love it for that. I really wish that was the last Transformers movie, because to me, it was a perfect end to that universe.
Right. Well, and not to talk about the other movies so much, but we talked about it with Age of Extinction. That movie was also supposed to be kind of like a reboot. It was supposed to be but it wasn't though. It was a sequel, but they kind of redesigned the Transformers and stuff, but they still had Michael Bay directing it. So it was very much a continuation. And so it just did. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it should have ended with Dark of the Moon, and then 10 years later or whatever, we have this movie and you know, but I was also going to say, can you imagine in 2007 if the opening of this movie had been the opening of, not directed by Michael Bay, but like this actual opening of this actual movie.
Oh man, that's why I'm so excited for Transformers 1. I don't know if you know about that. I don't know if we talked about that before.
It's the animated one with Chris Hemsworth, right? So yeah,
Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyree Henry. I really, really hope that movie looks like the opening of this.
Yeah, I hope so too.
My body is ready.
I hope it's good. I mean, obviously, I want I want it to be good, because I would love for it to be a good movie. So I'm excited to see a trailer for that one eventually. Yeah, it's coming out this year, right? So it's got to be. We're gonna have to see something soonish.
I'm expecting like summer, because I think it comes out in the fall, right?
Yeah. We just got the trailer for Joker, which comes out in October. So hopefully, maybe in the next month or two, we'll get something.
But yeah, for everything that I love about this movie, I still love a lot from those first three movies.
So that being said, I thought it was interesting how for this movie, for this kind of semi reboot, they go back to the basics of teenager wanting a car, which was essentially what was not the plot, but the inciting incident, if you will, of the first Transformers movie. And they gender swapped it, so now it's Haley Steinfeld rather than Shia LaBeouf, but it is still Bumblebee, which I think is kind of funny. But it's the logical starting point for a film like this, because they transform into cars. So it kind of makes sense. And of course, also being a fan of the original series, it was nice seeing Bumblebee as a VW Beetle, which is what he was, in the cartoons and stuff. So that was really cool. I like that this movie takes place in the 80s. I like that it's a prequel. There were times where I completely forgot it was the 80s, because it doesn't always feel like the 80s. Except for maybe the soundtracks, or the songs occasionally at times. And then, like seeing the furniture in the house, like that scene where Bumblebee's breaking everything in the house, like some of that looked 80s-ish. But for the most part, like Ron, her stepdad, or I don't even know if they're married, but Ron he never gave me like 80s dad vibes. I don't know. But anyway, that's nitpicky, I guess. But
well, I would say this. I think that a lot of movies that are made now that are set in the 80s don't really feel 80s. And I think that's because the film quality is so good now.
Right.
I mean, I feel that way about a lot of period pieces. So there's this movie that I love that is a comedy. It's called Black Dynamite. You guys need to watch this movie. It is a parody of blaxploitation films of the 70s. It was made in 2008, but it looks and feels like it was made in the 70s. That it still like goes under the radar, but I know it's a parody, but that is one of the best period piece anything I've ever seen. Because if you had recast all the characters as like no names, there's no way you could have told me that movie was filmed in 2008.
Yeah, that's very true. And some movies, Steven Soderbergh made a movie called The Good German, which takes place during World War II, and he shot it in 4:3. And he also, I could be getting this somewhat wrong, but I want to say he like made an effort to use lighting that they used in the 40s, and like maybe even a camera that they used in the 40s. He like tried to make it look like a movie from the 40s as best as he could. And I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that it makes me kind of like the movie even more. Yeah. Because I really appreciate the fact that he did that. And I think it looks really good.
That's one of the things that disappointed me about Captain Marvel. It was set in the 90s, but at no point did it feel like it was set in the 90s.
Right. Yeah, the only, like, aside from her crashing into a blockbuster, like, I completely forget that movie takes place in the 90s, you know? She's wearing a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt or something. But
so these movies are heavily reliant on the soundtrack. If it wasn't for the soundtrack, you forget that it was an 80s set movie.
Exactly. And that's how I feel about this one. This one's not bad, but yeah, there are times where I completely forget. Because like if John Cena's stuff, like he doesn't seem like he's in the 80s.
Absolutely not. I will say this. The way the story is, I won't say the story structure, but just the way that the writing for this movie is kind of 80s. Again, the plot point of teenager wanting a car, and then like some of the jokes are very throwback. There are a lot of moments that feel like it came out of a Corey Haim movie. Mm-hmm. When she drives up in Bumblebee, and she's about to, they're egging her on to jump off the cliff. Yeah. And she gets back in the car and the blonde girl is bullying her. Mm-hmm. That whole scene felt very 80s to me. Okay. Like how the chick was making fun of her because her dad died. I was like, that wouldn't fly in a movie that was made today. Like you could do it, but it would not. One, it wouldn't hold any emotional weight. It wouldn't be funny. But like back in the 80s, those are the kinds of jokes that they made in those movies. So that scene felt very 80s to me. And then like TP in the house and right. And you know, like that's very throwback, because I don't think kids do that anymore. I can't, maybe a few, but maybe
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think kids really do it either. I remember I never did it, but I remember that stuff was done when I was in high school, which was the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know if kids do that anymore either. That's interesting.
Yeah, I went to high school in the mid 2000s, and
nobody was TPing houses anymore.
Yeah, nobody was TPing houses. They might have egged a few cars, but nobody was wasting toilet paper like that.
That's true. Post pandemic, I guess we can't just waste toilet paper.
Nah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you're definitely not wasting eggs now that the inflation.
Yeah, that's true. In this economy? Yeah.
Nah. Could you imagine some kids saying that like on a Halloween night? Like, hey man, let's go egg old man Johnson's house. In this economy? I think not.
My friend Matt and I in California, it became this just for like, it didn't even have to do with the economy, but that was our kind of go-to thing. And then one of us would say, in this economy, and the other one would go, not on my dime. That was like our running joke. That's funny. So how do you feel about John Cena in this movie? This was before he really became. I mean, he was a huge star. He was a WWE star and everything. But this was one of his earlier films.
This was right at the beginning of him becoming the actor,
a movie
John
star.
Cena.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't dislike him, but he feels generic.
Yeah, that's true. He does feel a little generic. There are a couple of moments with him that I love. And one of them is when he's trying to convince like the powers that be that they should not trust these. He's like, they're called Decepticons. It's like, that doesn't raise any red flags. and then there's another part with Charlie's parents, and Ron confesses to shoplifting or something. And he goes, yeah, we know. It was just so throwaway, but it made me laugh out loud. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
So I think that he does a good job of trying to make it less generic, but I don't think the character was written much more than just a generic kind of tough military guy. Yeah.
He wasn't given much to work with, so it's not really a fault on him because I don't think that John Cena is a bad actor. I know a lot of people have their issues with athletes turned actors, especially wrestlers. But I don't think that John Cena falls into that camp. I think he's decent. Obviously, I think he works best with comedy. I haven't seen any of his dramatic roles, which were probably WWE movies.
Like The Marine.
Yeah, The Marine.
I never saw The Marine.
I think there was a movie called Legendary, which I think was a dramatic role. I haven't seen those, but I hope he's good in them.
I used to be kind of opposed to wrestlers becoming actors. Like I remember when The Rock first started. Like I don't remember how I felt about him being in The Mummy, but like when I remember just seeing the trailer for The Rundown and being like, why? And then I watched The Rundown and actually loved it. But I haven't seen that movie in forever, so I don't know how it holds up. But I remember really liking it at the time. And then it was the same thing with John Cena. Like when John Cena came out and did The Marine, I was like, I'm not watching this garbage, that movie might have been bad. But then I have really pretty much enjoyed John Cena and pretty much everything he's done recently. Starting with Trainwreck. He was so funny
I knew you were going to say that. He is hilarious in Trainwreck. I know a lot of people, I know we're getting a little bit off subject, but I want to say this. I know a lot of people have their issues with Amy Schumer, but Trainwreck is a good movie, man.
Trainwreck is funny. I agree.
Like I love everybody in that movie. Like, LeBron made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, that's a fun one to watch.
He's stuck with the check. He's like, come on, man. You're LeBron James. You're paying for this. But yeah, wrestlers turn actors. It when you think about it, it makes sense because they're already acting.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when they come into WWE, Vince McMahon or whoever's in charge now, The Rock is actually in charge now.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I had no idea.
He turned heel.
He turned heel? What does that mean?
Did you watch wrestling?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay. He's on.
Which is maybe why I was opposed to wrestlers becoming actors.
He's a bad guy now. He's a bad guy now. Yeah.
I did not know that.
And it is the best thing to happen in wrestling in like the last 10 years.
Oh, that's good. That's cool.
It is like he really changed it. Like wrestling is hot now. I mean, it's always been hot to wrestling fans, but it's like what he did with the whole storyline with Cody Rhodes, like it's great. It's great. It made me want to start watching wrestling again.
Nice. I should tell my wife. She used to watch WWE.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
When she was younger, she tells a story about when she was like 13 or something. She wanted like a Stone Cold Steve Austin themed birthday party, and her parents were like, Denise, no.
Yo, that would have been awesome. She would have came in. She would have came in on like the back of a truck with chugging beer and happy birthday. What?
Yeah, exactly.
What? Oh man, that's awesome. But yeah, it just makes sense for wrestlers to become actors since they're already doing that. Obviously, Dave Bautista is leaps and bounds the best wrestler turned actor, and he can do any genre.
Right.
So
he so I remember when the first time, because I didn't watch wrestling, so I was not really familiar with Dave Bautista. So the first time I saw him as an actor, I may have kind of in the peripheral kind of known who he was. But the first time I remember seeing him as an actor was on Smallville. And I just remember thinking, like, why is this wrestler on my TV show, you know? But I really like watching Dave Bautista, and he has proven that he is trying really hard and succeeding at
he takes it seriously.
Himself to be like a professional actor who he wants to like push himself and stretch his limits, and it's so I really like when Batista is in stuff. He's really good.
Yeah, he takes it very seriously.
Not that John Cena and Dwayne Johnson obviously don't, but it's just he's like turned roles down so that he can do these other roles, like more dramatic. Like he's really trying to push for like more dramatic roles and things like that, you know?
Yeah. Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, exactly.
For the little bit that Dune, he was obviously. In it. Dune. One of my favorite roles of his, even though like I like the movie, but it could have been better. Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
He is so good in Army of the Dead. Like he kind of carries that movie. Mm-hmm. You believe it. You believe it. Denzel Washington always says that the camera will catch you lying.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Dave Bautista and his work ethic, it really shows. You believe whoever he is playing, that you believe that he is them.
Yeah.
You forget that he's a wrestler.
Absolutely.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Did you see? And I've gotten kind of that way with John Cena too. You know, I don't see him as like this wrestler who's in the movie now. I see him as the character or whatever. So, and obviously Dwayne Johnson has proven himself. But did you see Knock at the Cabin? I think it was called.
No, I have not.
Batista is so good in that movie too. I just thought that movie was decent, but he is just so good in it. So it's definitely worth watching for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to check it out. We went on a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah, a little bit. This whole episode has been kind of a tangent. We haven't really talked about Bumblebee too much here. I mean, I like this movie. It's the story feels pretty standard. Like we said, it's a girl wants a car. There's some backstory with her father having passed away and wanting to she's working on a car to kind of try to, in kind of honor of his memory, I suppose, they were working on it together, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she's trying to fix it on her own as a way for her kind of bring closure to it, maybe, or bring her feeling she's bringing herself
exactly
closer to her father. Yeah.
Because she and her mom have a conversation in the movie where her mother is just is fed up with Charlie just moping around and being kind of emotionally distant from everybody else. Upon a first watch, I felt that, obviously you want to identify with the protagonist, but watching it the second time, I was like, her mom is kind of right. It's like, cause that particular scene, cause I was just watching it from a different perspective and not just purely, trying to have fun with the movie. Right. I actually wanted to see like, all right, what's going on with like the heart of this story? Mm-hmm. And her mom made a valid point. She's like, we were all grieving, but you're the only one that doesn't seem to even make an attempt to move on.
Right.
And she's she was kind of right. Now, granted, everybody doesn't heal the same way, especially when it comes to grief. And grief is not linear. Grief is cyclical. It's a cycle. But I saw both sides of the argument, because Charlie was saying, I can't just move on. You found a replacement for dad, and I haven't found that yet. Which I don't think. I don't know the guy's name, but her mom's fiance, Ron. I don't think he's necessarily what's his name?
Ron.
Yeah, I don't think Ron was necessarily a replacement. It's just that he came along when her mom needed her.
Right.
And Bumblebee is that for Charlie.
Yeah.
But she hasn't really accepted that yet, because she's still holding on to the memory of her father, which is, not a problem at all. You should absolutely do that. But when it stagnates you, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's her whole character development over the movies, that she's emotionally stuck, and Bumblebee is trying to get her out of that.
Yeah.
Well, he's not actively trying to get her out of it, but that is the purpose that he serves in her life.
Right. There's that, there's a plot thread or whatever, if you want to call it, of her having been a diver. She was on a high diving team, and her dad was, I don't think he was her coach, but he was, he was there cheering her on. And once he passed away, she kind of couldn't bring herself to do that anymore, which we see that at the scene at the cliff, because the hot guy at the school jumps in and everybody's kind of wanting her to do it, peer pressuring her into diving, basically. Yeah. And she doesn't do it. She can't do it. But then at the very end of the movie, when Bumblebee is under the water and needs saving, she's able to dive off of the top of the whatever that she was on into the water.
I actually didn't like that. I thought that was an unnecessary plot thread. I don't necessarily know what I would have done to replace it. I just know that it felt a little too much.
I didn't. I don't have any sort of emotional connection to it necessarily.
Yeah, it's
borderline cheesy.
Because,
she's finally able to dive again, kind of thing, which is fine. But it's I like the shot of her diving into the water at the end, but yeah, you could cut that out, and I don't think it would have made a difference really to me
at
anyway,
all.
Or done something different rather than diving. But yeah, I did like though that when she's at the cliff, Bumblebee starts playing "The Touch" by Stan Bush from the original Transformers movie.
The member berries. This movie is full of the member berries. I want to talk about, what are their names? Shatter and Dropkick.
Mm-hmm.
Triple Changers.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I loved it. I love Angela Bassett in this movie. She is like kind of, she's not even kind of, she's seductively evil.
Right.
And I really, really like it.
She's a good villain for sure.
Yeah. I'm not really sold on, I won't say I'm not sold. I just like, the plot is just so thin. Like the whole movie is just them looking for Bumblebee until about 2/3 of the way in, when they finally find him. It just, I think that is my biggest gripe with the movie, is that not a whole lot happens.
Right.
Most of the movie is just them. Well, I won't say most of the movie, but a very big chunk of the story is them with the military creating the internet, looking for Bumblebee, and then Bumblebee just doing random stuff with Charlie.
Yeah.
It felt like an episode of a TV show rather than a movie. And maybe that was on purpose, but it didn't feel quite as cinematic as it should have been.
Right.
It felt like that in the opening, and it definitely felt like that in the third act.
Yeah.
But it's like that the middle of the movie is very, very thin.
Right. And I think that's why, as much as I like this movie, that's kind of why I felt like a need to kind of talk about the Bayverse movies a little bit in the beginning of this episode, because that you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think it does feel it is a thin plot, and and I think that was on purpose. I do think they looked at the Bay movies and they said, we got to do something smaller, because I think we're like, everybody seems overwhelmed by the giant craziness of these other movies. And so I think they came up with a small self-contained story, but I also feel like it's almost too small. Yeah. On one hand, it's refreshing, but on the other hand, I like seeing, I come to a Transformers movie to see giant robots kind of fighting each other. Yeah. And so I do like Shatter and Dropkick. Seeing them, they do it once before this, but I liked when right after they killed Dr. Powell, or not, I don't know if it's Dr. Powell, Friend Powell, they make him explode. They turn into their cars and they leave the bunker, and then as they like leave the bunker, they turn into the helicopter and I can't remember if it's 2 helicopters or one's a plane and a helicopter. Yeah, one's a plane and one's a helicopter.
Shatter's a plane and Dropkick is a helicopter. And
then they take off. It's just that them being able to triple change, like you said, is so cool.
Yeah.
But but you said it. The whole movie is just them trying to find Bumblebee, and Bumblebee trying to kind of lay low and failing for the most part.
Yeah.
And then there's the military trying to find Bumblebee because he, just happened to basically land in the wrong spot when he arrived on Earth. Then they find him, and then there's the whole, they're trying to contact the other Decepticons, and they've got to stop that. And then that's pretty much it. And so it is very simple, but I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
It leaves a lot to be desired. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
And which I get, they like you said, they wanted to condense the story, condense a lot of the plot, and make a very self-contained movie to not overwhelm the people who have been overstimulated.
Right. Yes, exactly.
With the Bay movies, and while also leaving room for the franchise to grow if they wanted to make said reboot.
Right.
Franchise reboot. But again, it feels like there is a chunk of movie missing in the middle areas. I
do kind of feel like the beginning is so good and the end is so good. There are scenes like the whole, it's fun to watch, but like the whole scene with Bumblebee that I was talking about in the house where he's like breaking stuff and tripping over everything, like that is really such
completely
an
unnecessary
unnecessary scene. It's just,
I was thinking the same thing.
It almost feels like filler just to try to get toward, it's just, it's interesting. So do you think if this movie had been, let's say, the first Transformers film, the Bayverse movies had not happened, this movie comes out, would it have gotten as high of a rating as it did? Or do you think it got a high rating because the critics were like, hey, this is much better than those other movies. I actually kind of, like this one.
The latter. I think had this movie come out in 2007, critics would have been like, where are the Transformers? There are only 3 Transformers in this movie. Where are the rest of them?
That's very true, actually. Yeah.
So I think that
it would have been a hard sell to have your first Transformers movie barely have Optimus Prime in it.
Yeah. Honestly, the perfect story for live action Transformer, like at least out of all of these movies, is the first movie.
Yeah.
Do that exact story with this tone, and you have a perfect Transformers movie.
Yeah.
Because I like that story. I really like. I love the alien invasion aspect of it.
Too,
I love it, and it's partly because Independence Day is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Right.
And that movie feels like Independence Day with Transformers.
Right. One thing, real quick, before I probably wrap it up pretty soon, is there was one moment in the movie that kind of annoyed me. Just like I was annoyed on behalf of Charlie, even though Charlie was not annoyed in the movie. But like, she's from the beginning of the movie, she's wanting a car. She's begging her mom for a car. $500. She might be able to fix up the Corvette that she's working on. And then eventually she gets this free VW Beetle, and she finally has a car. She wakes up the next day, goes to the garage to go see, which she now knows is Bumblebee, and the car's gone. And her little brother, I think, tells her, oh, mom took it because she's got to take the dog to the vet, and Ron had to use the other car. And she was like, oh, thank God.
I 100% agree with you right now.
I was like,
that
she just got this car.
Oh my God. That
and the mom just
me.
takes it without even I don't know if she, the Charlie lives in her house. Maybe she doesn't have to ask, but like, at least say, hey, I got to borrow your car. Like, I know it's like, I don't know. Or, hey, do you want to drive me to the vet? Like, or just, it just drove me nuts that she just,
I have always, I thought that watching that in the theater, I was like, she just took her car.
Right.
Like, it didn't say nothing. Like you said, I get it. She's like, she's the mom. Charlie's the kid. I get it. You don't really have to ask permission.
Right.
But just being considerate of another person's things
that she just got
for her birthday.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Like, it'd be one thing if she'd had the car for years.
Right.
And the mom was like, I got to take, and she didn't, you just took the car. Fine. But the car that she literally just got the day before. And the mom's like, I got to take it now. You
could have left a note under the door. Something. Yeah.
So yeah, I was annoyed on Charlie's behalf for that part. I'm glad I wasn't alone.
100% agree.
How do you feel about the score of this movie? This is not, this is probably the first, I think it is the first Transformers movie, live action movie, to not be scored by Steve Jablonsky. It is.
I like it.
Dario Marianelli. Yeah, it was good. I understand why they're not using the dun, bum bum bum, because they're trying to kind of set themselves apart. And so there's a part of me that misses that a little bit because I just think that's such an amazing theme. But the music I thought really worked in the movie. I thought it was really good. Yeah,
I hadn't really noticed it before this watch, but I was listening to it like intently during the third act. I was like, it's really good.
Yeah, I noticed it. I can't remember what scene it kind of stood out to me, but there was one scene in particular where I had kind of the same thought, and so I was like, I'm gonna have to listen to this score because this was pretty good.
There's something that I did want to talk about, but I think I'll save that for when we get to Rise of the
Beasts. Okay, all right. Well, with that being said, then I think we should go into a rating, and I'm a little torn because I had a rating in mind, and then talking about like the kind of the thin plot and whatnot, I think I'm gonna bump it down half a star for me. So I am gonna go 3.5 VW Beetles out of 5.
Dude, you're in my head because I watched it last night, and all throughout the movies I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna give this movie because it's not bad. It's straightforward. It nails the tone. It does most of the things it set out to do.
Right.
But it like I said before, it leaves so much to be desired.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like this is one of the harder movies to score.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna agree with you and go 3.5 out of 5 Autobot insignias. It's just I want to give it a 4 because, like we said, it is objectively, hands down, the best Transformers movie.
Right. Yeah.
Do I enjoy it more than the first or third movies? No, but This is a hard 3.5.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily want to give it a 3.5.
Right.
But I'm gonna have to give it a 3.5.
Yeah, you and I are on the same exact page because, like, I think about the Cybertron scenes and it makes me want to give it a four stars.
Like that,
you know, like
that scene alone is 5 out of 5.
Right. Right.
Where's B122117?
And I enjoyed myself watching this movie this time around. This was actually, I had not seen it since I feel like I say that almost about every movie, but I hadn't watched it since I saw it in the theater. And so watching it again, I was like, this is pretty good. I'm enjoying this movie. Yeah. But when we sit there and kind of maybe analyze it a little bit and start to kind of really think about it, you go, okay, well, maybe it is kind of lacking something here and there. And it's not like, it's weird because, like you said, it's not a bad movie. It's, objectively the best Transformers movie, but it's just, yeah, I think I would I would definitely pop in the first Transformers movie and watch that if I had to choose. If somebody said, you want to watch Transformers or Bumblebee, I'd go, let's watch Transformers. Yeah. Which is weird because, I don't know. It's just, that movie just has gotten a bad rap, I think, over the years. And it makes you almost feel like you have to say it's a guilty pleasure, even though I don't think it necessarily has to be a guilty pleasure. I think.
Okay. I want to say this. There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. Like what you like. Watch what you want to watch. Don't like.
That's true. Don't let anybody make you feel
like what you like. Yeah, because like I said, I always say, like, I there's a difference between how I feel about a movie and what a movie actually is. It kind of grinds my gears whenever people say that film is completely subjective. Mm-hmm. It's not completely subjective.
Right.
It's mostly subjective, but I think people have a hard time differentiating what a particular movie is supposed to be, mm-hmm. and how they feel about the movie. I often think that people let how they feel about a movie at any given time during a viewing influences how they feel about the movie overall. How many times have you and I discussed a movie that we felt differently about than we did the first time we saw it?
Oh yeah, like all the time.
All the time.
And I think you and I are also...
our feelings change.
Yeah.
But the movie never changes.
Right.
That's why I say you can have two opinions on a movie. It's possible.
I 100% agree. Our friend AJ does on his Letterboxd reviews. I don't know if he does it for every movie, but he'll do his enjoyment score and his critic score, which I thought was pretty smart because I do feel like sometimes those will line up for me, but every now and again you'll see a movie and you'll go, okay, I understand that was a really well-made movie that deserves a lot of praise, but it either just wasn't for me or I just didn't like it as much as everybody else kind of did. And that's totally okay,
Yeah.
And also, I think you and I are pretty good about giving movies second chances. There's plenty of movies I've seen where I'm like, I didn't really like that. It might have been me, Yeah. And I need to watch it again in a maybe different time of the day or with a different frame of mind or whatever. And one of our favorite movies, I didn't like the first time I saw it, which was The Fountain. And that's because in my opinion, it was marketed poorly. It made me think I was seeing a different movie than I was.
I agree.
And I also didn't understand it the first time I
was just thinking about that movie today.
And then I gave it a second, and most people I think would go, that movie's terrible and never watch it again. But there was part of me that wanted to like it. And I did a little research on it and kind of realized, I kind of was able to put the pieces together and I went, oh, and I rewatched it and became one of my favorite movies. I think,
there are certain movies that you have to, so art, right? Art is not just visual, painting art, but art in its entirety. Art is an offering of the creator, of the artist. And a lot of the time, well, I don't say a lot of the time, but sometimes you have to be in position to receive that offering.
Right.
For instance, I don't think we've talked about it yet. Sinister. When I first saw Sinister, I didn't like it. I was like, that was stupid.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to watch that again. And then maybe like a year went by. I was like, you know what? Let me give this movie another chance. And I watched it intently. And I really wanted to understand what it was about, what it was trying to say. And the second time I watched it, I was like, that was fantastic. Luckily, it only took me 2 watches. Sometimes some movies take me like 3 or 4 watches to get it. Yeah. Another example is The Witch. I didn't like The Witch when it first came out.
Yeah.
Then when I watched it the second time intently, that movie's fantastic. That movie's better than Sinister. But yeah, you sometimes for certain movies you have to be in a position to receive it. And if you go into a movie stressed out, thinking about what you're doing the next day, thinking about what you did the day before, annoyed with the people around you, if you're in a movie theater, annoyed with, that'll take you out of the movie viewing experience completely. And there are a lot of things that influence our mood while we're watching a movie that we don't even realize is influencing us, and it really goes into your opinion of a movie, which I think is unfair to the movie. And you know, I try my best to watch movies with intent now.
Yeah.
And trying to understand them. You know, not all of them are not all movies I can give a second chance to.
Right.
I mean, I do give a second, but not all of them do I change my opinion.
Right.
For instance, Tenet, I haven't changed my opinion on that. I like the movie. I don't want to say that I don't like the movie. I like the movie, but I've watched it several times, and I still feel the same way about it. And I know other people feel very differently about how I feel about it on both ends of the spectrum. And you know, I'm kind of in the middle on it. So
yeah. Well, there you go.
I know I went on for a little bit.
No, it's all right. This whole episode is a little bit of a going off on tangents, but that's all right. That happens to us every now and again, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We'd love to know what you think. You know, are there movies out there that you've given second chances to that you love now that you didn't like the first time you saw it? I'd actually like to know which movies those are.
Yeah.
And also, I'd like to know your opinions on Bumblebee. Are we wrong? Is this a 5 out of 5, or is this, you know, and where does this rank in the Transformers movies for you? We'd love to know. So you can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can also comment on our Instagram posts at cinemaheroes. If you're watching this on YouTube, give a comment down below, give the video a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think that about wraps it up for this episode, though. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.